Thank you, Zeppelin. All righty. Okay, and don't forget to buy all the records on which I appear with Led Zeppelin. As you know, I mean, you know how it was. It was when I wasn't with my fake band, The Strain, at Boston University, playing on such classic hits as "Do You Want to Live Until You Die," and of course, "Ground Zero," and "Elvis on Fire," and the great song "Glass," and our epic 8-minute long anthem, "The Blue Farm." Remember that one? That was good. Remember our classic EP, The Strain, called "Cardboard Humans," and our first double EP, "Don't Strain Yourself." That was a good one. That was the one where the cover art had the bathroom stalls with guitar cases. Even our drummer carried a guitar case. He would put his sticks inside the guitar case. So that's The Strain. Get all the Strain stuff. Let me know what you think. So, okay. First off, I got some very bad news. The kidnappers here spurred this man to flee. He got hit by a truck, and he's dead. Yeah. So here it is. Person killed by truck while allegedly fleeing ICE agents, says the Florida Highway Patrol. And there'll probably be one of these wonderful, oh, there isn't. That's good.
And ran across this highway where he was struck and killed by a semi-truck this morning. Now the incident is sparking questions around this enforcement operation and leaving a community mourning a life lost.
Vehicle versus pedestrian, 2222, State Road 16 at Wawa.
According to the Florida Highway Patrol, ICE and Homeland Security investigation agents responded to a Wawa on State Road 16 just before 7 Tuesday morning. Troopers say 4 people inside a vehicle ran from the area after encountering the agents. Investigators say one of those men ran across State Road 16 into the path of an oncoming semi-truck. The truck driver stopped immediately and tried to render aid, but the man died at the scene.
Fired on scene, 646. Med 2, copy.
Anytime that someone is killed, that's somebody's child. Very sad to hear.
By Tuesday afternoon, flowers had been left at the scene in his memory by Katie Mann, a St. Augustine woman who says she wanted to honor the man while also thinking of his family.
I just wanted to do a small thing to just memorialize this person who I don't know, who was killed very needlessly.
Local immigrant advocates say
we ordered too many blankets.
All right, so we'll pause it there, go through this and do all that stuff. And I can't imagine being an immigrant advocate and how tough that is. I remember when my friend Nadia came over, she wanted to go to law school coming over from Siberia. We were meeting with some immigration attorneys who were friends of my brother. And when those guys are just super, super busy, and it must be so tragic to see what's being done by the federal government to so many of these people. But let me continue here and give you the rest of this information. This is good coverage. So here we go.
The fear some people experience during immigration enforcement operations.
This was somebody's son. This was somebody's baby. A brother, a family member, just gone.
First Coast News crime and safety expert Mark Bachman, who has experience working with ICE, says the operation appears to have been what's known as an enforcement removal operation.
These could have been 4 workers waiting to meet somebody to go to a job site very easily. Or they could have been 4 individuals who were involved in some type of illegal activity. There should be an investigation done, and there should be total transparency. There needs to be clarity, and there needs.
Okay, so what's the investigation that is the most important investigation regarding the system of the United States? How about glancing at the U.S. Constitution? That would be a good idea. So let's take a little deeper dive into this and see, because of the protests in Maine and Texas regarding the 2 men ICE killed this week, so now we've got 3 due to ICE activity, the new ICE head said they might reconsider. This he said yesterday, they might reconsider how they handle suspects in cars. Here in my car, Trump killed that idea real fast. Just like that man who tried to escape from his kidnappers. Here's the headline. Trump says ICE will not halt traffic stops after 2 deadly shootings. Does this in any way comport with the Bill of Rights? Not only comport with the Bill of Rights, but again, can I ask where the word immigration is in the Constitution? And you know who was really angry today? That's right. Mr. MAGA Radio, Jeff Cooner, was highly angry because the head of ICE said that they were going to change the way that they were handling traffic stops. And Jeff Cooner was upset about that. And they were going to change because, of course, they shot a guy in Maine in his car. And then the car went around in circles, which could have harmed other people. And by the way, the guy had a baby in the car. Remember hearing that? He had a baby in the car. And they shot him. And then the car went around in circles. You can go around in circles. Gonna fly high like a bird up in the sky. Yeah. So here's the latest. Donald Trump doesn't like the idea that ICE might change its policy regarding traffic stops, even though the traffic stops are being performed by an unconstitutional agency called Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Immigration being a word that's not in the Constitution. Customs can be. Then can be enforced, according to them who claim this power. Those are the rules they tell you they'll operate by, of course. Then, not only that, but this is Maine, where the governor of Maine said, we don't want you here. So literally, again, Article 4, Section 4 says in order for any federal soldiers or troops to go in, which is supposed to be the militia, a non-standing army, not immigration police, they're supposed to be invited by the legislature, or if the legislature is out of session, by the governor of the state. They have not. In fact, just like California, just like Oregon, just like Illinois, they have explicitly said, we don't want you here. Same thing with Massachusetts. Here it is, Dateline Washington. President Donald Trump said he will not allow U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to suspend most traffic stops. Well, Jeff Cooner is going to be happy tomorrow because he was irate today. It's a capitulation to the invaders. Again, who's invading? If you'd like to be left alone in your house, who's going to invade it if you don't pay their salary? If your state says, hey, you know, there's this thing called Article 4, Section 4. We haven't invited you in. Who are the invaders? And I'm not talking about the TV show with, what was his name, Neil Finnis? The invaders. Yeah. One day after officials ordered a temporary pause following the fatal shootings of 2 people in Maine and Texas by federal agents. We must be strong and smart, and we cannot give up one of ICE's most important and effective crime-fighting tools, the traffic stop, Trump wrote in a social media post today. Once we do, we are playing right into the criminals' hands. The radical left Democrats would like to see this done, but it won't happen on my watch. ICE, be judicious, fair, and smart, and go back and do your very important job, he added. It's unclear whether ICE will move forward with the announced suspension. The Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE, shared Trump's statement in a post on X. Neither ICE nor DHS responded to USA Today's requests for comment. Officials on July 14th ordered the temporary halt after ICE agents shot and killed 2 people during traffic stops in a span of 6 days. On Monday, July 13th, an ICE agent shot and killed a Colombian man in a residential area in Biddeford, Maine. On July 7th, an ICE officer fatally shot a Mexican national during a stop in Houston, Texas. And by the way, Jeff Cooner said about this guy today, the one in Maine, he's illegal. What did we mention about that guy? He had a legal work permit. He was going to work when he was shot. And Jeff Cooner also, without any knowledge of what actually happened up there, took the government's line and said he was using his vehicle as a weapon. And of course, you can see, as we showed yesterday from the gunshots, that the guy who shot him was not in front of the vehicle. It was almost like what we saw previously with other shootings. It was at an angle. He was to the side in front of the vehicle. And very clearly, the guy was trying to get away. And what happened? He didn't get away. He got away in a metaphysical way. Hopefully, he's with God. Both shootings ignited protests and raised questions over the tactics of federal agents carrying out the Trump administration's aggressive deportation campaign. In both cases, ICE agents shot a motorist who was not the target of immigration enforcement operations, officials said. None of the agents involved were wearing body cameras. So let me ask you this. If they had been the targets of immigration enforcement operations, would it have been any different? Of course not, because the immigration operations are illegitimate. Even if they were to be included in an amendment to the Constitution, they still would be illegitimate, as I mentioned. And we've got a separate video about that report that we put out yesterday live. That is its own video. If you want to share that, I thought it was worthwhile to put out. The Russians and I worked on it today. It's its own video at the Rumble channel and at the YouTube channel, if you want to sign up over YouTube. So there you go. Unbelievable. What would you do? Let me ask you, what would you do if you were the governor of a state and you had those people coming in? Now, I'm an anarchist, but what I would do is I not only would get the state troopers, I'd get the National Guard, and then I would get people militias to act as vigilantes to arrest every federal agent in the state. And if they tried to fight our arrests, well, perhaps they would understand what it feels like to be approached by law enforcement who are being ordered to take them away. Then we've got this. Mahmoud Khalil files civil rights suit against senior Trump officials. That's right. Now, this is an opinion piece. This poor guy, remember, he was in jail when his wife had their first child. Columbia University protester Mahmoud Khalil has filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against senior Trump administration officials and 3 private organizations, alleging they conspired to deprive him of his constitutional rights. Khalil said the Trump officials and the private groups sought to punish him and intimidate him because of his support for the Palestinian freedom movement, clearly, according to the lawsuit filed Tuesday in New York's Southern District. The lawsuit, brought under the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, says the groups sought to make an example of Khalil to intimidate the movement for Palestinian rights. Quote, people who spoke up for Palestinian rights were met with harassment and coordinated attacks aimed at their education, their careers, and their futures, Khalil said Tuesday at a press conference. The goal was always to manufacture fear, to convince people that the cost of speaking out would be too high. Named in the lawsuit were several senior Trump officials, including White House aide Stephen Miller, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin. The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, and pro-Israel groups Canary Mission and Beitar were also named as defendants. The White House didn't address the allegations in the lawsuit when asked for comment. Abigail Jackson, a White House spokeswoman, instead referenced Khalil's continuing immigration case, saying that he allegedly misrepresented himself and committed fraud to obtain a student visa. Khalil has denied the allegations. And you know how they're claiming he committed fraud? Was that he was speaking up for peace, and they said that he was engaging in support for terrorism. So that was fraudulent, they said, because he was speaking up for peace. And even if he were speaking up specifically for Hamas, the United States government and the Israeli government gave millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to the leadership of Hamas. I mean, it's such a clown show. It's like Raggedy Ann and Andy. It's a total child's show. It's stupid. Now, I also want to mention this. Color us shocked. Nothing like that Bill of Rights, huh? Here's this. Returning to the U.S., court says that agents can search your phone without a warrant. Well, of course they can. Federal agents don't need a warrant to search the phones of travelers entering the country. They don't? Did you know that? I don't know how they do it, but evidently the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply. They can just do it. Because, of course, immigration is their power. It's magic. They can do anything they want. They can plunk themselves down at airports and tell you got to go through a screener, and they'll look at all your information. By the way, this book here is a book we're going to be discussing very soon. Stronghold by Paul Finch. I can't believe that popped up. That's amazing. That's crazy. That's one of the authors I'm going to be discussing tonight, my friend Paul, former police officer. So go back to this. Federal officers don't need a warrant. Border searches do not require a warrant to be reasonable, said U.S. Circuit Judge Marvin Quattlebaum Jr., writing in an opinion released by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit on Monday. The published opinion sets binding precedent through the Fourth Circuit, including North Carolina and 4 surrounding states, on how U.S. courts should so-called balance your constitutional protections. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention on the Khalil story when they mentioned his constitutional rights. No, they're not constitutional rights. They are just rights that the Constitution is supposed to recognize and proscribe the government from damaging. But here we see again that they have a balance between constitutional protections against unreasonable, that's that wiggle room, with the reasonable searches, with the federal government's broader authority to police borders and ports of entry. Where does that broader authority come from? Anybody want to find that in the Constitution? You won't. Have fun. This is a judge in the Fourth Circuit. Now, if a guy like me can say, hey, where is it in the Constitution, and then can cite history and give speeches on it, why can't a judge who literally is ruling on people's lives actually go to the trouble? Or does he go to the trouble and intentionally rule in a way that he knows will sustain the illegitimate federal government claim of power over the borders and immigrants? They're not supposed to be at the airports when you come back from a foreign country or when foreigners come to an airport. The states could impose their own regulations on that, as states did up until post-Civil War. But not the federal government. The only thing the federal government can do with foreigners is tell them how they can become citizens. They can create a process, that's it. If they're non-citizens, they can go anywhere they want, and the federal government isn't supposed to touch them. That's it. And there's no amount of arguing people can make to try to pretend otherwise. It doesn't work. It's incredible. And again, it doesn't matter whether I favor immigrants or I don't favor immigrants. I favor peaceful communication and freedom of association, or I don't. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying this is what they tell you are the rules, and it's not in their power base that they claim. It's just not there. And it is impossible to argue that it is. Finally, we'll just talk about the New Mexico hero of the flock cam opposition. Yes, indeed, my friends, an American patriot. And David talked about this. Javon Martinez is being hailed as a hero across the country after declaring he will continue destroying flock cams. Yes, indeed. Oh, and by the way, there's another story about the New York governor banning AI data centers. But guess what? It only lasts long enough for her to get through the next election. Yeah. I looked it up. I was like, I have a feeling. Oh, yes, she's going to get to the next election, and then it's over. And then they can start the AI data centers for all her corporate pals. So they know. They'll be giving her plenty of money. But let's talk about this hero of the Terror Dome. We don't need another hero. Let's go into it, my friends. let's talk about the hero of New Mexico who's rocking it right now. Here he is, everybody. He is perhaps going to be getting a lot of good attention for doing good things.
After a bizarre scene in court today, a judge says she will issue an arrest warrant for the man accused of vandalizing license plate readers in Rio Rancho, but he says he has no intention to stop his actions.
You have plans to continue to take down these flock carriers?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. They are a clear and present threat to public safety.
44-year-old Javon Martinez is facing larceny, property damage, and tampering with evidence charges after police say he destroyed 3 flock cameras, costing Rio Rancho thousands of dollars in damage.
So again, how in a collective can you not say that that guy should be able to do what he wants and claim that that's his property? Maybe some other government project somebody can claim as their property, a piece of the sidewalk or a stop sign. This part right over here, my taxes paid for that one, right? It's all the collective. If he wants to, if he thinks he's improving it, shouldn't he be able to do it? I thought it was the land of the free.
Say he replaced the cameras with the sign saying, "You're welcome, Republic of New Mexico." Martinez showed up to court today, but he refused to identify himself during the proceedings. The judge considered that as a failing to appear in court, but Martinez claims he exercised his right to remain silent.
No, I can't. You call me, but I am here. I'm right here. I stood up. I walked up there. She wanted my name, but I have a right to not bear testimony against myself. Giving my name consults as testimony. And so I just chose to remain silent.
The judge said she would issue an arrest warrant for Martinez for failure to appear. As of this afternoon, it has yet to be filed. After the hearing, Martinez filed affidavits from witnesses saying he did show up for the hearing.
All right. Very cool, huh? How about that? And I want to let you know, I mentioned this in David's chat as well. Truckers are starting to hit the cam poles now. Big rig truckers. Nice. Very cool. I was just backing up. I didn't realize it was there. Oh, again with the as they would say on Homestar Runner.